Hey kinfolk, this is Brian with the Bearded Axe, and today is all about boots. And I got two styles, and the ones I've been walking around with for years, they're just on their last legs, pun intended. So yeah, I just got to get a new pair of boots ready, and so I still have these the ones that I did for the other video, and I just got to put a new sole on it. And I've got another interesting idea that I'm going to try after I put a sole on this one, and we're going to try out both styles to see which one I like best, and show you guys that there are a lot of options out there for decorum footwear. So I'm interested in seeing how this turns out, so let's get to work. Alright, so first step is, which I've already done, is just I peeled off that last sole that I put on, and just sanded it down, took off any kind of finish or glue or whatever that's on there, so you just have just straight bare leather, and that's what I'm going to glue onto this sole. Now this sole is a really cool looking sole. I got it off at Etsy and it was pretty reasonable. It was around $30 from somebody from Ukraine, I think. Anyway, I'm going to put a link down in the description. But this is a trial run. We'll see how well this works, but it's a nice aggressive tread. And yeah, it fits perfectly onto the shoe. And that's exactly my biggest concern about all this was it going to fit? Was it going to do it? And I gotta say, it just fits like a glove. Kind of different part of the body, but you get the idea. So yeah, it works, and I'm gonna glue it on, and we're gonna walk around with them after the glue dries, and we'll see how well this works. So let's get started. This is probably gonna be the easiest part about this whole video. I literally just have to glue this to this, and that's pretty simple. It's pretty easy. So let's get started. So before we even start to lay down our glue, make sure you have plenty of ventilation. I've got the door open, I got the two garage door opens out there, and we're going to try and get as much ventilation in here as possible, because this stuff is pretty bad for you, but it works really well, which is why I keep using it. So yeah, and again, just make sure that we have our fans going, we have our ventilation going before we even throw down our glue. So here we go. Make sure you wear some of these gloves here. Now I don't smell any fumes. That's because of all the good ventilation that I've got going on here. If you smell fumes, then you're not doing good enough on your ventilation. Alright, you want to let that sit and dry, and then we'll do another coat just like it. Alright, now I want to get all the pieces right here in the middle. Let's go over that real quick. Alright, in a few minutes, this should be dry. You'll know dry because when you touch it, your fingers don't stick to it, and a bunch of goop doesn't come up on your fingers. And so this is dry, so now we're ready for a second coat. And we can just throw that on real quick and then attach it to the sole. Well, we got to put another coat on this as well. So real easy, real simple. Just go over it just like you did, and then very carefully put them together. We'll do that in the next clip here. Alright, so when each piece is dry enough, as you guys can see, none of the glue comes up. Anyway, yeah, so that's a good feeling. That's where you want it to be. And make sure both pieces are that way. Alright, don't drop it. And so I want to start with the heel first. Toe first. Start with the toe first. bash it in there. All right, so just for good measure, I'm gonna take a mallet and just make sure that attaches really well. Normally I would want to put this sort of thing in a clamp, but I can't exactly clamp this, so I'm going to do the next best thing. I'm going to put sandbags on it. So I'm going to leave this overnight to about 7 days, depending on when I want to get to it. And yeah, by that time, the glue should cure. So contact cement takes about 7 days for it to get fully hardened and cured for it to be used heavy and like regular use. So right now it's just a waiting game. So now on to the next way of doing a shoe. And I saw this, and I think you guys would love it too. So let's check that idea out. All right, so of course this shoe is about done. It's seen a lot of miles on it, and but I still think it's still useful. So here's the plan. I'm gonna take this top off, I'm gonna reuse it, and I think you're gonna love how this is gonna turn out. And I'm really interested in seeing if this is even possible, because I would love to keep these shoes. So let's pry this off. So again, this is a 5-in-1 tool. Everybody should have this. This is such a useful tool. It doesn't cost you hardly anything. And yeah, I'm going to use this to pry off the not just the rubber sole, but the actual leather sole. I'm going to take that off. All right. So I'm going to take this tool, pry it in there. Well, you can just rip it off. Kinda. So the rubber sole that I put on there earlier, or much earlier, yeah, so that doesn't get quite all of it. Anyway, you guys get the point. So I'll show you guys the next step after I get this leather sole off. All right, so they're going to be these little nails, as you can see there. Just yank those bad boys out. That's a little better view there. Get that little nail out of there. That's basically how they nailed, or how Viking Leathercraft had nailed their inner sole to their bottom sole. And then we just got to take those out. And once those are out, we're going to just separate the inner sole, and then we'll just have the top. And then it'll be very interesting what we're going to do with that. All right, so once we got the nails out, this inner sole is just easy. Just rip it out. It's just like that. A lot of dirt where I am. But now this needs to get stretched out, because it's going to go onto a shoe like this. But the leather has to stretch out a bit to fit around that shoe, because obviously it's just not there. But as you can see, this is starting to look a little, get that little pan head out of there. But yeah, we can fit this over the top of that, and then I'm going to show you how I attach it. Alright, so you want to get your water right here and just set it in there. So the reason why we want to put this into water, warm water preferably, is that we want the leather to soften up so we can stretch it over the top of the shoe. And so now we're going to let that sit in hot water, and then we're going to prep the shoe. I'll show you how you do that. All right, so the next step would be to take an old shoe, a shoe that is on its last legs as well. It's just a worn out shoe that I just didn't want to throw away because they're still very good shoes. The soles are just awesome. They have great cushioning, support, traction, everything's great. And I'd like to reuse these with my old Viking shoes. So I am going to put some holes in the sole that I'm going to stitch the top to here. So now I just need to mark them out where I want them. I want them in between the tread. Now I don't want them on the tread because as I walk, I don't want that thread to tear off and then my whole boot top comes unraveled. That's not what I want. So I want to make sure that I put a hole here, and a hole here, and a hole here, a hole here, 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 here. You get the idea. And you want to stitch it in the grooves of the tread. And so yeah, once I have all these marked, I'm going to drill them out with an 1/8 inch drill bit. So I'll show you that in the next clip. All right, now that I have my holes, I'm going to drill diagonally along the shoe, right where I made my marks. All right, I'm trying not to go through the shoe, but just through the sole, because I don't want water coming into my shoe. That's just how it's going to be. I could waterproof it in other ways, but we'll figure it out once we start getting this whole thing in. All right, so you want to get your top out of the water, and by then it should be nice and soaked. You want to start stretching out stuff like this. I don't know if you guys can see the steam coming off of it. You want to stretch it out. Just go all the way down. Now, I don't want to rip this, and neither do you. So I don't want to go just gorilla arm it and just rip it down. So now we're going to test this out, see if it fits, if it's stretched out enough. If not, we'll just keep stretching it. Come on, get on there. That looks like it's pretty good. Maybe a little bit more, and I think we'll be golden. So we just stretch it out more, stretch it out. All right, that should be good. All right, so before I sew this on, I want you guys to make sure that you guys know what kind of thread I'm using. I'm using a waxed synthetic thread. And this is really hard stuff. I can't break this with my hands, and that's what you need, especially when you're just putting all your weight down on this, project, like literally all of your weight. And you want to make sure you have the best stuff. And so waxed is great for when you sew it. It actually pushes wax through that hole, and you end up with a sealed hole with wax in it. That's kind of the idea with a waxed thread. And it also helps lubricate your thread going through the hole, so that way it's a little bit easier to stitch it through. And I mean, we're going through rubber and a bit of plastic too, and that's going to make this whole thing kind of hard. And so the other thing you're going to need are a pair of pliers. Little needle nose pliers will do just a trick to help you kind of push it through and pull it out of each hole. And this is going to take you a little while, and it's going to be a bit tedious, but I'm sure you guys can do it, and I know I can too, so let's get to work. I'm going to pull off about 1, 1.5 breadths. And that should get me what I need to go through the whole shoe. And I want to start from the bottom because that's where I want to it's already starting to give me trouble. Push it through. Pull it out. And we're just going to go into the next hole. Pull all that thread out. Alright, probably just stuff this in here for now. That way it doesn't just run away from us. Now we want to go to the next hole, which is right here, right in the center. Like I said, this is kind of tedious. This whole tool here is kind of helpful. I need to just make a hole, or again, I'm trying to stretch the leather as best I can for this one right here. Hole. Just need to put it right in there. I've been using that little pocket where the wire cutters are. I've been pushing it that way. I don't have a thimble or anything like that, but this works pretty good. Pull it all the way through, all of that excess. All right. Now there's another hole there underneath. Just keep going through that same process. Like I said, it's going to be a bit tedious. A little hard physically. We can do this. Just keep doing that until we're all the way through. Just make sure that we're stretching the leather along. Stretching it along the shoe so that we have plenty of access, or this is going all the way around and we're not shrinking the shoe at all. Yeah. Alright, kinfolk, so I got the last stitch in and it took me about 2 hours to get this done. So now all I gotta do is tie this up. So I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to do that. It's like a regular knot, like so, just like a regular old knot. You want to put one more in. All right, come on, don't fight me. All right. One, you can do that one more time. One, two. And for the, I'd like to do an extra one at the very top knot. So all those extra loops will provide enough friction to keep this knot in place. Keep it from slipping. And so, get your trusty rusty little knife. or some scissors, cut them loose, and you're almost there. You got a lighter. Hopefully this thing. All that's molten and kind of melts together. That's why I like the synthetic thread, is that it'll melt together and it won't come apart. Even if the knot wanted to, it couldn't, because it's literally melted together. Also kind of screwed up on the side here where I broke the threading, so I had to retie it. So I'm gonna just give you a close-up of that. So if you just run out of thread or whatever, and you want to tie two ends, you can do the same thing and just keep on going. And just make sure that you melt them together. Burning my hand here. And that is it. That doesn't look too bad as a decorum shoe, but with a modern qualities of a hiking shoe. So that's it. All right, kinfolk, so here we are, the end result. This one obviously took about maybe a half hour to get both shoes glued up, and I gotta wait at least a week before I can start putting weight on these and start using them and testing them out. These I can start using almost immediately, and the next episode that I put out on this particular series is that it'll talk about the good, bad, and the ugly of both builds. So yeah, I'm really interested. This one actually took about 2 hours to complete, and that's just each shoe. And I'm hoping that investment in time is going to be worth it. And again, this isn't my idea. This is somebody else's idea that I saw on LARP Haven. Somebody posted, so I guess some European LARPers and reenactors, they do this with their shoes, and it's not a bad idea. So yeah, I'm going to test this out and see if it's worth it. Go away, wind. It's been very windy. Anyways, yeah, and if you guys like this, leave a like, sub, share, all that good stuff. And, you know, go on to my merch store and buy yourself a t-shirt, and it makes you look 20 pounds lighter, guarantee. So grab yourself a shirt and or hoodie, because it's still kind of cold out there. But yeah, that's all I got for you today, nerds. Look forward to the new episode that's coming up about the good, bad, and the ugly of this particular build. And so yeah, I'm going to leave you with a be humble, be helpful, and be honorable. Thanks for watching.